I was talking to my boyfriend on Google Hangout the other night. In the middle of the conversation, he went, "Is that your mom in the background?" And I said, "Shut up. That might have worked the first couple of times, but I'm not falling for it anymore." Let me explain the situation. I live alone and I get scared quite easily. My boyfriend takes joy in scaring the heck out of me, and so he's pulled that "oh, look who's behind you" nonsense in the past. And yes, I did fall for the same trick a couple of times. So going back to the story, my boyfriend responded, "Ginny, I'm not kidding. I saw someone walk past the fridge. Are you sure there's no one with you in the apartment?" I was already a little scared, and it really annoyed me that he tries so hard when he knows that I don't sleep well if I get spooked badly enough. I didn't shout it out loud, but I did respond somewhat loudly as I said, "I don't believe in ghosts, they're not real, they don't scare me, you don't scare me at all." And that was followed by loud popping noises and buzzing sounds, while at the same time the power had gone out. I grabbed my phone, then ran out of the apartment screaming like a lunatic and didn't stop running until I was all the way at the ground floor. From there, I went to the convenience store down the road and stayed there until my boyfriend came to take me to his place. I was in my PJ and slippers, but I could care less. I went back to my place the next day with my boyfriend. There, we found that the light bulbs had all exploded. That's probably what made the popping sound. Also, one of the power outlets looked brown. It was burnt, and this probably what made the buzzing noise. I should also mention that the circuit breaker switches were all tripped. As for any sign of intrusion, there was none. There was no sign of anyone picking the lock, nor could anyone climb the wall of an apartment to the third floor, not that I know of. Okay, there are several questions I could ask at this point. 1. Did my boyfriend really see someone behind me, or was he mistaken? Because he swears he saw a person by the fridge only a couple of yards behind me. 2nd, was the power surge a coincidence, or did something cause it? Because the fact remains, the light bulbs exploded and the power outlet burnt out right after I spoke some gibberish about not being scared of ghosts. And finally, is the figure that my boyfriend saw somehow responsible for all that's happened? Regardless of the answers, I don't think I can live in my apartment any longer. I'm staying at my boyfriend's for now, and I think I'm gonna stay with him for a while longer. The thing is, even if I can find a new place right now, I don't think I want to be alone. Life after college wasn't supposed to start with a haunting, but here we are. When I was very young, from the ages of 3 to 6, I used to see things that others couldn't. Well, at least that's what my mom tells me because I don't really remember those things. I'll give you a few examples of those incidents. She tells me that I would ride the bus with her and tell her that a man was standing right in front of me and staring. The problem was that there was no man. Mom told me that half the bus was empty and thus nobody was standing. There was also this one time when I told her that I saw a little boy hurt and bleeding by the side of the road. There was a heavy traffic at the time due to a car collision that had occurred a few miles down the road. Mom told me that she saw a news report later that day about a boy that had died in the earlier vehicle collision. Now imagine raising a kid who sees those things almost every day, and you might be able to understand the set of challenges I brought into parenting. Nonetheless, my peculiar habits or abilities, whatever you want to call them, well, they've stopped once I turned 7 years old. Mom tells me that it just stopped one day and I never did it again. I'm 29 years old today and I'm the poster child for the definition of the word normal. I'm just so average in everything and very comported. I like following rules and I don't particularly enjoy deviating from the norm. I'm very average. With all of that being said, my life was turned upside down a few days back. I went to work like any other day. I took the bus, got off the bus, then walked to the office, and right as I was about to enter the office building, I saw a woman lose balance and about to take a tumble. So I did what anyone else would. I quickly ran up to her and tried to help her, but her body just went through me. She wasn't a person. A couple of onlookers outside looked at me strangely, since all they saw was me running towards the nothing and acting as though I was trying to support an imaginary person. Just imagine how crazy that might have looked to an unsuspecting observer. It's happening to me again, and I don't know how to stop it. If it's something that I must live with, then I must learn to distinguish the reality from my mind's creation. As of now, I'm really not sure whether what I'm seeing are beings from different planes or if they're merely visual projections of my imagination. But whatever the case may be, I have to learn to distinguish them, or otherwise I'll never be able to fit in with the rest of society. Am I crazy, or is this perhaps an optional feature from God's people factory? I don't know, but I really wish I could turn it off if possible. I just can't figure out what I did to deserve such a curse. I really don't deserve this. No one does. My grandpa used to live with my family way back in the day when I was only a boy. I didn't know it at the time, but he had terminal cancer and was living out the last few months of his life. I was told by my mom much later in life that Grandpa was a very spiritual man. He wasn't a follower of any major religion, but he was big on meditation, and he also believed in the existence of a greater being. Having said that, I came home from school one day and saw Grandpa waiting for me by the porch as I got off from the school bus. I said, "Hi, Grandpa," and he told me to come and sit next to him. I did, and we talked for the next half hour. I used to love asking him questions about his days as a captain of a container ship. It was such a blast to hear stories of heavy storms out at sea and near-miss accidents. An hour seemed like a minute whenever I chatted with him. He was a great storyteller and just the best grandpa ever. Anyway, after about half hour, Grandpa asked me who was standing by the mailbox. I looked and there was no one there. So I told him there was no one, and I remember him saying, "I think my time to live is fast approaching. He looks very impatient. I think he wants me to come already." I didn't understand what he was saying at the time, but I think he knew he would die soon. Because that night, we all went to sleep, but Grandpa never woke up again. He had passed away overnight, very peacefully, and probably in his sleep. I think Grandpa really saw something on the day that he passed away. He saw some type of a being who was there to guide him to the next chapter of his journey. When he spoke those cryptic words, he didn't look scared or hesitant. It was actually the opposite. He looked zen and almost as though he was looking forward to move on. A few days ago, I realized that it's been some time since I even thought about Grandpa. I haven't gone to visit him at his grave for the last 3 years. There was always some excuse about my children, job, and just life in general. Well, today I was going through some old stuff from my childhood. Mom wanted me to clean up the basement of all my things, so I went over to her place, and in the process of cleaning up, I found several photos I took with Grandpa. He was a very interesting man. I really wish I could have spent more time with him. Anyway, I thought I'd share the story of his passing while my memory of that day is still fresh in my noggin. Love you, Gramps.